It seems everyone needs a manifesto. So I sat down over the weekend to write up what a motifesto or a gymifesto would look like. And I didn't want to use the word manifesto, but what I did want to do is to say this. Over the over my entire life, I have worked as either a team member or a leader or someone hiring a team, and I've watched what happens when people are successful. What is the way of working, the base elements of a way of working that people actually engage in? So here is the Modus Way of Working 1.0. Like any model, it is flawed but useful. So if you can come up with flaws, please comment and tell me what they are. If you come up with ways that are useful, please do that too. Don't just be there to complain about it, but let's work together on trying to figure out how we can work with people to get things to actually flow well, for people to actually do their work. So the first one, not going to be a big surprise to anyone who's familiar with Kanban or personal Kanban, is to make your work visible. This is the primary message of the personal Kanban book and of Modus Cooperandi, which is that visual management is a thing. It is that when you see something, you can manage it, you can work with it, you can talk about it, you can depersonalize it. Visualizing your work is a prerequisite for being able to fix things, do things, assign things, or accept things, right? So before you accept work, it should be visualized. Before you assign it, it should be visualized. Visualize your work so that you can talk about it and be honest about it. And we'll talk more about that in a minute. But next is the next one that shouldn't be too big of a surprise, which is to be in control, to limit your work in progress or your work in process. And what we're doing here is we are making it so that people have the bandwidth, the cognitive bandwidth to actually complete their work with confidence and with quality, such that they're proud of or satisfied with the work that they're doing. And when you do that for somebody, that restores their humanity. And that is important because humanity is a metric for how much energy people have to pay attention to what's going on. So if you would like your workforce to actually be effective, to actually be efficient, to actually be productive, that workforce needs to actually be able to pay attention to what's going on. And then what they are they're like, get this, they're like hundreds of individual AIs that you've already bought. You don't even have to buy a subscription for them, and they're out there every day thinking about how to make the work better. For you personally, it keeps you sane so that you have better relationships with family, with friends, with everything else. Number 3, be honest. So psychological safety, big buzzword. Everybody wants to be psychologically safe, but no one's willing to actually build a system to do it in. So whether it's learner safety or challenger safety or any of those other types of safety that people have identified, you need to visualize your work and limit your work in progress before you can actually be honest and be psychologically safe. Otherwise, you're too busy reacting, and psychological safety means that you are actually paying attention to the other people that you work with. So let that sink in a little bit. Number 4 is to be you. Boo. It's to be you and to be able to be you because you know who you are. So we've visualized our work, so we know it's coming up. We feel a little bit more comfortable with that. We have limited our work in progress so that we are able to actually focus and finish. We've started to actually figure out how we're communicating with our team members, and now we can say, who am I and what is it that I need in order to do a good job? And that's where your personal true north comes in, and why it's important for every person on the team to know who they are so that they can know how they can actually help the team. Number 5 is to be a team, which you can now do because you've done the other 4 things. See how these things kind of build on each other? And so we want to build a right environment where the team actually understands their culture, they understand their work, and they understand that their culture is how they work together to get the work done. That's what your culture is. You don't have like a culture of bowling. You don't have a culture of hiking. Those could be things that the team likes to do because it's part of their culture. But ultimately, your team culture is how you get together and get your work done. Your process and your culture are intertwined. They are one and the same thing. They're just different ways of viewing that thing. All right. Be professional is number 6. Sounds like an admonition. Go be professional. But what happens is we don't often give people the ability to be professional because they're so overloaded and they're in such a toxic environment where there's no psychological safety that there's no opening to be professional. So the way we do that at Modus is we practice the 7 elements of humane management. And that is that whenever you visualize something, you need to be able to see what's expected, the work that's being done because of it and who's working on it, the triggers, which is like basically what you expected and then what happened when that expectation met reality. The trigger is, oops, something didn't match. You need to do something else. Then when you do something else, you need to remember it. So that's the direction of the team. And then when you have those initial 4 things, you have basically the work you plan to do, your work, and how it went. And now you have a narrative. You have a story of how your work went, and then you can actually study and adjust it. So PDSA, PDCA, however you want to do it. And the A part, that adjustment, involves you actually filtering it through your culture. And that's your professionalism, your ability to act, how your team identifies, and things like that. So those are the seven elements of visual management. And if anybody wants to learn about that, it's in different posts by me. So number 7 is be effective. Be effective is, and if you've read the collaboration equation, you kind of knew I was going here next, is that we want to embrace collaboration. That's a great word, embrace. But what does it actually mean? It means that we have built a system where people understand when they need to talk, how they need to talk, when they need to work together, and what that means. And that we do that when it's needed. We don't wait for some ritual meeting. We don't wait for a retrospective. We don't wait for a Kaizen event. We don't have some specific meeting where we have proposed A3 topics. We are able to do the work that's required when it is required. We don't let somebody else's dogma tell us when we should act. We let our own professional judgment and the visualizations that we have around us show us when to act. We act at the responsible moment. Number 8 is be aware. Be aware means that we understand what the people around us need, what our work needs, what management needs, what the customer needs, what regulators need, and all of those things together, all those needs. That's what builds our constancy of purpose. Constancy of purpose isn't, oh gosh, I have a belief in the better world. It's not that. It helps to believe that there can be a better world. It helps us all if you do. But a constancy of purpose is saying, what is our mission as a group? And then how does my daily work attach to that? So it's understanding corporate strategy, it's understanding the team, it's understanding all of that stuff. And that's all visual. And it's part of the system, and the other 7 things before this were required to get that done. When we have all of those things, all of a sudden we can chill out a bit and we can be healthy. And most of your team's work, and this is why upper management is trying so hard to lay people off now. It's not because of return to office or AI or COVID or any of the other excuses that they've come up with. It's literally because right now, they recognize that office toxicity takes up most of everybody's time, and they can't figure out how to solve for that. Well, this is how you solve for that, and this is how you keep the people that you've hired, and this is how you don't give in to that fear. So toxic systems are always the expression of weaknesses in the system. The inability to plan, the inability to estimate, the inability to know when to collaborate with each other, the inability to solve for internal conflict or personality differences, the inability to deal with those people who just say, I'll do it, I'll do it, I'll do it, I'll do it. And at some point to say, no, it's stop doing everything. that we want our visual systems to show the flow of work so that we know the right person to do the right work at the right time in the right way with the right colleagues. That's it. That is a healthy system. And once you build that system, you can start to undo those toxicities. One last thing to say about this in this slide is that every toxicity you have is a bottleneck. It is a structural weakness in the flow of work that is just difficult for most people to solve, and therefore they try and ignore them. And that is to everybody's detriment. In the end, when you have these things, then you can start to talk about leadership. You can talk about leadership on the way, obviously. But leadership is a verb. It is seeing something that needs to be done and then being able to have the agency, the professional respect from others, and the ability to communicate to get that done, to get whatever needs to be done. That is what being a leader is. And so we want to build systems that allow everyone in the company, everyone on the team to act with confidence because they have the right information at the right time to do the right thing. Those are the 10 principles for this Modus Institute or Modus way of working. And I would love comments. Please give me comments. Please.